I tried making up my mind about an intro, but everyone who clicked on this video already knows what this is about, so let's just start. In typical biodynamic fashion, these are built really well. Ear cups are made out of hard plastic that doesn't feel like cheap at all, feels really solid. You have your typical metal yoke and slider design that Biodynamic always uses. The headband is made out of metal too, of course, but you have your plastic frame with the logo, and you get a detachable cable, which is kind of new for the more cheaper designs of Biodynamic. They always had like a non-detachable cable, which was kind of bad because it was the first thing that broke with these. And so now it's detachable. It is micro XLR, so it's not 3.5 millimeter, but of course at the other end you get your 3.5. It's not that bad. It's not nothing different than using 2.5 millimeter, just a slight inconvenience. Confronting some issues I have read in several reviews. I don't really have any microphonics with these cables. I'm using the shorter one, you get a longer one. Pretty standard cable, like it's rubberized. It's just nothing really to talk about. So everything feels really sturdy, and it does weigh more than the cheaper buyers, which were like really light. But I would still say these are not heavy. Like they are heavier, but it's not really an issue. The design itself looks quite a lot more modern, and people have been criticizing it because the older buyers look maybe a little more fancy. Like there are some more designs from which you can choose. I kind of like the more chunky design with the shadowy grayish color, and just how the grill is made. It looks modern, but in a really tasteful way. The only thing that kind of bothers me, but it's the same with like a lot of headphones, are these cable thingies here that are sticking out. It's kind of like they're not too small. Like it's possible you are just like, get in there with your hand and then I don't know. I'm always afraid to accidentally tear them out, but nothing happened till now, so just have to be a little more careful there. But yeah, I know quite a few headphones who have these cable thingies here. So all in all, I don't have any issues with the build here, but every biodynamic headphone I had was built decently. These definitely fall in line with that. As with their build quality, biodynamic headphones tend to be more on the comfortable side. With these, it's the same, at least for me. The cushions are as soft as they look, and they really need to be, because the clamping force is actually quite high. But to me, they really absorb most of the clampiness. I really like these round ear cups and round ear cups as a whole. My ears perfectly fit with these, but these are smaller than the older biodynamics. So I can imagine people with bigger ears will have an easier time maybe with the Sennheiser like oval shaped ear cups. I have these, I think, on the second or third step extended, and I think people with bigger heads, like maybe they tend to notice the clamping force of these more. But all in all, I think these will be comfortable for most people, and kind of like the Fidelius, they hug your head more. Like I said in the build quality section, these are certainly not light, but the weight is evenly distributed, and the headband, although it does feel cheaper than with like older or like even with the other biodynamic headphones. It's just like really standard foam pleather type thing, but it does its job. From time to time, and like just really rarely, I get a little hotspot in the middle of my head here, but this kind of disappears like really after a minute again. The good thing that comes with having a higher clamping force and hugging your head more is that these are not loose. They certainly won't fall off of your head. Yeah, to me, they kind of disappear after a while. Like these are just two soft pillows that you have on your head, and that play sound. You can move the ear cups somewhat front and back, and they have a little bit of side swivel. It's not much, but I guess it's enough to fit in most cases. Sound-wise, these are a departure from the usual Beyerdynamic house sound. The emphasis on treble is way less, and there's even like maybe a slight veil to it if you first listen to the DT880 and then to the 900. But that's because the 880, or basically a lot of the other headphones in the Beyerdynamic lineup, have strongly elevated highs. And though the treble is turned down in comparison to the famous Beyer peak, from time to time it's still close to being a little harsh in the treble. But for me, it never goes above that. And it's even less so than with the HD560S, which basically fills in the same role as this one, namely being a more neutral open back headphone for mixing. Furthermore, I heard no sibilance with these, and it's certainly not piercing or anything like it. There is a thick layer of cloth here inside, between the drivers and your ear, and I think that's what smoothes out the treble. And I read that people were taking it out, and then it's still like a pretty big emphasis on the high frequencies. Mid-range is also more pronounced in this one, but it's still not a mid-range centric headphone like a lot of the Sennheiser neutral open backs. It is even a little warm sounding, I would say, for a reference headphone, but without any muddiness in the lower mid-range or any bloat or anything. It's really just like a little more warmth in there than, for example, the 880 had really kind of cold mid-range, and together with the high frequency was more clinical sounding than this one, I would say. Voices are not forward or shouty, but still present actually the same way as the instruments are. I found the mid-range to be great in this one. Everything is really present and just sounds real, like with the HD560S. It has goes kind of into the same direction. And I do think these are kind of on the same level, even if the HD560S are kind of less expensive. But I think bass and treble are better in this one. But the mid-range is actually like really good. There's no real harshness or any kind of bloat into the lower mid-range. It's just really, really balanced. I already kind of praised the bass in the 560S as being really good for neutral reference headphone, and this one here is even better. There is slightly more of it, and it goes deeper, and you can feel it. It's definitely more present. It's even punchier than in the 560S, and the 900 Pro X can take like a few dB of bass boost, which makes it like a kind of even like a fun headphone. But it's pretty good out of the box. It's enough for me to listen to music without having any changes in EQ or something. Of course, it still has the typical sub-bass roll of like most open back headphones, but I feel it's less, and it just feels like there's more of it, and you can judge the bass better than with other neutral headphones, because here it really is there and it's not just, out there. Yeah, I really like the bass on this one. It's just really clean, and even for neutral sounding headphone, you can enjoy this for music listening, like actually listening to electronic music. The bass hits pretty hard for an open back reference headphone, and I honestly think that you can use this as a daily headphone, even for watching movies, listening music, and so on. I think this is what makes up for the price. It just has better bass quality and more bass quantity than, for example, the HD560S, and while still having good treble, like you can, I feel like it's still kind of a little bit airy, and you still have like a little, can still use cymbals and everything in the upper treble and mid treble range really good, but still it's not as harsh as with other neutral reference headphones. I do think, and it's really noticeable, that the 900 Pro X feels less open than, for example, the 990 or the Tigers or a lot of other open back headphones. Actually, they feel kind of closed off, and maybe like an semi open back headphone. The soundstage is still okay wide. It does sound open enough. Like, it does not sound like a closed bag, but it but do not buy these for having like a wide or deep soundstage. This is not what these are intended to. What is pretty good though is the imaging. It's really fun to listen to, that it's not only front and the sides, but there's like things in between. And yeah, these are really good for gaming, I would say. Like, you can hear stuff. Regarding the detail level of the 900 Pro X, I think it's pretty good. It's kind of what you would expect for a reference headphone in the price range. It's not overwhelmingly good, but still I felt like I could hear everything, and it would like separate stuff really well. I think it's one step above the HD560S, where it became just maybe a little cluttered or pushed together on the 560S. I think these are somewhat better, but these are 100 euro more expensive, so that's kind of expected from them. So yeah, but maybe that's just me justifying my purchase. Who knows? What I also really like about the sound itself, but the bass in particular, is that it's like really fast. Not quite planar magnetic like, but it's like it's on a good way to be there. Like, everything just sounds really fast. It happens and then it's over, and yeah, thought that was kind of noteworthy. It is being sold as a studio headphone for mixing, and therefore has quite like a neutral tuning. And it does its job really well, I would think, but it's quite flexible, and I think it gives you really room to change its sound, and even the stock tuning, like I said, feels less clinical than other ones, like less cold or like bass slide. It's just a really good approach to a neutral tuning that can be used as a daily headphone for basically everything. Honestly, it kind of sounds like really energetic sometimes. Like, it's fun listening to music with this one. I said this in the HD560S review, but this is how neutral should sound. Not bass anemic or with piercing highs, but really balanced. And if you like bass, give it a few dB more and it will handle that easily. And if you like listening to voice heavy stuff or electric guitars, everything sounds full and not thin. And if you like clarity, the highs are just a little bit boosted, but not in a fatiguing way. So it really does a lot of things really well, I would say. Really, the only thing is that the soundstage everything is like really close. It's not wide or it's not really deep. It's just, it does sound less open than other headphones. But if you can deal with that, it's really interesting piece of work. So that's it with this review. I hope I could be of help to you. Let me know in the comments if you have like an DT900 Pro X or if you intend to buy one. And basically, just tell me your thoughts. Goodbye.